Love GAA history? Then you'll love going deeper with Over the Bar's Cordia Club membership. For just €5 a month, you'll get exclusive member-only episodes and series, early ad-free access to the main podcast, plus detailed show notes, a newsletter, and the chance to have your questions answered. Join Michael Foley and Kieran O'Hara as they uncover the stories, the legends, and the questions that shaped our games. Don't just listen, be part of the club. Join now at overthebar.club.
Since the dawn of the GAA in 1884, the telling of its stories have been just as important as the sports. Through the years, heroes and matches have been immortalised, inspiring generation after generation. But some of its most important stories have also gotten lost or turned into legend. And in this series, we will explore some of the GAA's most fascinating forgotten tales, separating rumour from reality and myth from the truth that is often more amazing than the fiction. I'm Michael Foley.
And I'm Kieran O'Hara.
So join us for Over the Bar, exploring the histories of the GAA.
Hello everybody, welcome to Over the Bar, the GAA History Podcast. Kieran, today we're going to party like it's episode 99.
And it is indeed episode 99.
Yeah.
I feel like we should get, a comic, maybe get Mario Rosenstock to do a remake of the Prince song.
Yeah.
We're going to party like it's episode 99.
It kind of writes itself. It really does. I think it would be quite easy for a man of his talents. Big week, episode 99. And of course, what comes after episode 99 is episode 100, our centenary.
Which is going to be there for all our Cordia Club members tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And it's a very special series we're starting.
It is. On the theme of the millennium, we're obsessing with numeric significance this week.
Well, it may as well. It only comes around once. I only get to say that line. Tonight, we're going to party like it's episode 99 once ever in the entire existence of this show.
It's amazing. Did you think we'd get to 100 episodes when we started this stuff?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't really think beyond episode 1, to be honest. You just take it step by step after that.
So what's the maths? What does that mean? How many episodes have we done free now, and how many episodes have we done for Cordia Club? Well, by tomorrow it's going to be 50 of each, right?
Exactly. So if anybody wants, isn't it?
Yeah.
50. Yeah. 50 free, and then 50 members episodes, so if anybody out there is kind of wondering, I kind of like these episodes. I think, will I invest? Like, it's less than the price of a match program. It's less than $5, and you get 50 more episodes straight into your feed.
There you go.
I mean, if you're going to do it,
I'm not doing any more selling than that.
If you're going to do it now. But it is great. No, it is great that, this week of centenary for us also falls on a very special centenary for Gaelic Games broadcasting, Kieran. Very exciting.
It sure does.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you a very simple question, because people may have come across this little factoid already this week. It's already been discussed actually at different points of the summer. If you were keeping your eyes open and your ears peeled, as it were, you would have heard maybe a bit of chat about this. What was the first GAA game to be broadcast?
Well, the short answer is that it was the All-Ireland hurling semi-final of 1926. And the reason, so obviously it's 100 years this week. It was on August 29th.
Oh.
And those who've maybe been casting an eye on RTE over the course of the last number of months may have noticed that there's a centenary celebration for RTE. But actually at this time, it's kind of, would I say the grandfather of RTE or the grandmother of RTE was involved, which was the original radio service, which was referred to as 2RN.
Can I ask you a stupid question? maybe it's not. I don't know. I've heard this 2RN before. Why was it called? Do we know why it was called 2RN as opposed to Radio 1 or Radio Aaron or some such?
I'm not quite sure why it was called 2RN. It may just have been some form of signal definition because obviously there were bands for radio at the time. I mean, what I do know is when it was set up, it had only been launched in the 1st of January in 1926. And in the newspapers in the first few months, you see lots of commentary. It's almost like it's become a new topic for the papers.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be fantastic for the press because it's a whole new angle of news and
it's
reviews
complaining
and
about the standard of the programming. It's complaining about, because again, and this I guess this is the history of broadcasting in Ireland. It's competing with services from UK.
Mm-hmm.
So people who have made the big investment and bought their radio sets and are listening on headphones because that was the way you did at the time and have paid a license fee. So you did pay a license fee at the time.
Straight away already. That was quick.
Yeah, well, once you bought the set, you had to pay for a radio license. So they're kind of going, well, when we listen to the BBC, we get X, Y, and Z. When we listen to you, you could show a little more imagination in the programming. And the politicians are asking for a little more imagination in the programming. And they just, it seems 100 years on, the press still like to beat the public service broadcaster over the head a little bit, doesn't it?
It's so like the Sunday game story though, isn't it? Like, bunch of lads watching Match of the Day in the late 60s into the 70s go, why don't we have something like that? And then they go and make it happen. So it's kind of similar. Like, we're talking about like the first GAA game to be broadcast. We kind of just glossed over that. I mean, just saying that question stroke sentence, that is massive because, not only was it the first GAA game to be broadcast, Kieran, I think I'm right in saying that broadcasting this GAA game was a landmark moment in global broadcasting.
Well, it certainly was in European because it appears, and I couldn't find any contradicting evidence, to have been the first time a field sport was broadcast in Europe. And the reason that they got in ahead of the BBC was that BBC were prevented from broadcasting live sport before 7 p.m. when most sport occurred.
Why?
And certainly all field sports occurred at the time. Floodlights weren't that commonplace because they would have affected newspaper sales. So part of the, the foundation of the British Broadcasting Corporation had been, yes, you can set up this new media, but do not interfere with the traditional media.
That's fascinating. And they obviously went along with this, maybe knowing at the back of their heads that you're not going to be able to do anything about this once it gets going.
Perhaps. And I mean, when 2RN is set up, everything about it is experimental. So it's under the aegis of the Department Posts and Telegraphs, because they're the collection agency for the license. And it's communication, I suppose, so it makes sense. Yeah. And all of the early staff are actually trained in the BBC, so they're sent away to be trained and then come back, and they operate out of a little office on a very tight budget on Little Denmark Street. So they're not that far from Post and Telegraph headquarters, the GPO. Little Denmark Street is actually gone now.
Yeah, where was that?
It's the ILAC Centre.
Oh, it's the ILAC Centre. Right. Okay, fair enough. So they're in the corporation library broadcasting.
Yeah, they're down there somewhere.
Basically.
Yeah, so they're at for the first 2 years, and then they move up
near the official Liverpool FC shop there.
Yeah, something like that. And then they move up to the GPO in 1928, where they have 3 studios, and it begins to become a settled service. But in 1926, everything about it is experimental. There is a heavy emphasis on music and poetry and history and mythology. So, it's a little bit of a hodgepodge of everything.
Mythology?
Well, to see the people that are involved, you got to think about where we are in 1926.
Yeah.
It's early Free State. So the first director is a guy called Seamus Clendillan, who was a musician. Like, that was his thing was that he had been trained as a sketch artist, actually, but he was a musician predominantly. He was interested in the Irish language and music. So he was kind of selected on the basis that he'd be a good musical director. But he reported to a man by the name of P.S. O'Hegarty, who was the department secretary for Posts and Telegraphs. Now, he is a fascinating man.
Go on.
He had been on the Supreme Council of the Irish Republican Brotherhood.
Oh, right.
He had been, had worked in the post office in the UK, like many. He was from Carrignavar in Cork. He had been educated in the North Mon. He was friends with Terry McSweeney.
Oh, it was Terry to him, was it?
Terry to him. There's lots of letters of correspondence. He signed Michael Collins into Sinn Féin, even though Collins was 10 years younger than him. You know, he is someone who from his earliest days, once he arrives in London, just becomes involved in all of it. And he ultimately gets moved away from London because they think he might be involved in some subversive activity. So
you know, yeah, I'd say
he kind of gets packed off up to Middle England.
Okay, where you know he couldn't be involved in any subversive activities in the Midlands, could he?
No, but by the time we have a new state, he's almost the perfect guy to put in charge of Posts and Telegraphs because of the experience he has developed working in the post office in England. And he is, you know, he's Gaelic leaguer. He wants all this stuff as well. He wants the perfect Ireland. But, you know, when they are getting all this criticism about the types of programming they're doing and why aren't they doing live broadcasts? Why aren't they going out doing concerts in Cork and Tremor? You know, so he's having to fight back and go, yeah, we will do outside broadcasts, you know, but we're just learning our way here.
We've got one microphone and a piece of wire. Give us a chance.
So he kind of decides, you know, what would be interesting is to do, as he calls it, a running commentary on a hurling match.
By the way, sorry, I should interject here. I presume he was a GAA fan. If he's IRB, if he's, you know, hanging out with Collins, who was a GAA fan.
Yeah, they were in London. They were all involved.
Yeah, he was, presumably he was.
Now, I don't know. I can't find evidence of, you know, a massive playing career or anything like that, but I presume that they were all working in the same circles, and that's, you know, that's why he thinks this will be the right type of content to try a live running commentary on. And he makes an approach to the GAA and they're receptive. So engineers are dispatched from Little Denmark Street to go up the road to Croke Park and figure out how will we do this.
With a set of pliers and that wire I mentioned earlier.
And two cans and a really long string.
Very, very long string. Off they went up to Croke Park. How are we going to make this work?
But the GAA are genuinely receptive because
I think this is amazing. Sorry to cut across you. I think this is amazing that the GAA, I mean, this is an organisation that even then would have been seen as, well, it mightn't have been seen as conservative as they would become to be seen over the years. But they are kind of, you know, they have very politically, strategically positioned themselves, even in 1926, as one of the pillars of the new Free State. So they are establishment. So, like, this is really, like, no one else is doing this.
No, and I'd say that's part of what appealed, is that when they're making the pitch, they're like, nobody else has tried this. We can do something unique for your games. We can spread the word. Now, it's nominally a Dublin service. It has one transmitter at McKee Barracks, but you can receive it throughout the country, provided it isn't being interfered with by one of the more powerful signals from the UK in that band. So you do see the schedules in the newspapers. So it comes on about 7 o'clock in the evening. It's off by about 10:30. It's the army band. It's, you know, you kind of get a sense of what might be on. But so it was interesting for me to go and check, well, what was in the schedules in the papers?
Yeah.
For that weekend.
Yes.
There's no mention of the fact that there's a special broadcast on the Sunday.
Oh, right.
So you really do get the sense that they're trying this, and if it doesn't work, nobody knows. And if it does work, we can push on.
Okay.
Like, this would be the equivalent now of you and me getting the technology to holographically present an All-Ireland hurling semi-final, getting everything in place, all the equipment, say, yeah, we'll do this now, and then not telling a single sinner to come and watch the holograph.
I thought you were going to say do a holographic episode of this show.
We could try that sometime.
We should have done this for episode 99. If we were going to party like it's episode 99, we should be doing that now.
Love GAA history? Then you love going deeper with Over the Bar's Cordia Club membership. For just €5 a month, you'll get exclusive member-only episodes and series, early ad-free access to the main podcast, plus detailed show notes, a newsletter, and the chance to have your questions answered. Join Michael Foley and Kieran O'Hara as they uncover the stories, the legends, and the questions that shaped our games. Don't just listen, be part of the club. Join now at overthebar.club.
But in any event, that's where we are. So even like he ends up asking a really interesting guy to do this live running commentary for him. And I presume that they knew each other both from Cork and from London. A man by the name of Patrick Dennis Mehigan, PD Mehigan, or as he was known to readers of the Cork Examiner, Carberry.
Ah, the original GAA caller. One of the original GAA callers should be said.
And I mean, by this stage, he is known as Pato in the Irish Times, first GAA correspondent. And I went to read his preview of this particular match because I was thinking, surely now he's going to drop in a little line that says, oh, and by the way, tomorrow I will be doing a live broadcast, a running commentary, shall we say, of this particular game on 2RN. Does he? Hell. Not a thing in the piece. There is nowhere in any of the papers saying, by the way, you can listen to this on the wireless on Sunday.
So it really does sound like they just want to give this a quiet go. And like, as you say, if it works, they can take all the credit for doing it and push on.
Yeah, because it's just completely outside of schedule. As I say, the schedule is evening, and then this is just going. So, like, I wonder, did people even have any idea? Like, would they have had the wireless on to notice?
Probably not. I mean, why would you? I mean,
if a tree falls in a forest and nobody hears,
if an
did it really fall?
If an All-Ireland hurling semi-final is broadcast live, but there's nobody to listen to it, did it even happen?
It's just the most bizarre set of circumstances. So, and the logistics of doing it.
Oh yeah, please. I mean, we talked about a can with a big long two cans in a string. Like, I mean, I'm not a techie person at all, but I'm really fascinated. How did they do this? How did they actually broadcast from Croke Park?
Well, one of the great things that survives in the RTE archive online is a little bit of an interview with one of the early technicians in 2RN, a guy called Jimmy Mahon. So he's able to talk about how they did things. They set up a 3.5 pound mic, like, you know, those big circular ones that you see in the old movies?
Yes.
On a tripod on the sideline. Because at that time in Croke Park, there were sideline seats. There wasn't a press box.
Yes.
So the press sat on the sideline seats that, you know, probably the ones that Luke O'Toole used to grab from houses around the area.
It used to be a press table.
Yeah. So he's down there. They've got this big microphone on a tripod. The tripod is resting on 3 ships' batteries to power the microphone.
Wow. They're big.
They're big enough. I imagine they're bigger than a car battery.
If they're there to power a ship.
There seems to have been concern that they might have been knocked over during the course of play and that would interfere with... Maybe that's why they were being so quiet. They needed to see would the batteries be knocked over. So Jimmy Mahon's given a pretty good description of this. He gives a rather funny description of working with Mehigan as well. He said that he loved a baby Power, you know, the little shot of Power's whiskey.
I know of them.
And he said I wouldn't describe him as a drunkard. But he basically describes that he could drink one in between delivering 2 lines of commentary. Now, I imagine he would have saved that for really cold days.
Oh, I'm sure it was entirely medicinal.
In any event, there was another engineer receiving the signal from the microphone through an amplifier underneath the stand, who was then connecting that signal by telephone back to Little Denmark Street, where it was being relayed to McKee Barracks and then sent out around the country.
That's
So it
pretty
is
cool.
It's more advanced than the cans and this piece of string.
It's not just P.D. Megan shouting very loudly.
No, but it must have seemed very strange to the people around him. Like, it must have seemed like a scene from science fiction. He's standing, talking into this tripod with the odd-looking microphone on it.
It's
calling a running commentary. Like, one of the things you find now with commentators, and you find it more on club games because now they're all being streamed, is they're trying to be a little quieter as they commentate because they're conscious that players can hear the commentary on the field. Can you imagine standing on the sideline going, "Oh, I think
he deserves huge credit because, first of all, it's never, as you say, it's never been done before. He knows going up to do this job that has never, ever been done before, that people are going to be looking at him in a very strange way. He's surely thinking, there's got to be a part of him that is self-conscious about doing this, for all the reasons you just mentioned. And it just looks plain damn weird. If I'm right in saying, Kieran, he was only approached a few days
the week before. Like, all of this came together in the week before. It's the semi-finals on. P.S. O'Hegarty says, "Oh, you know what? That'd be an interesting outside broadcast." And it just happens to coincide with a series of letters to all the newspapers in the previous months about the need for some outside broadcasts. And he has a chat with the GAA. Yeah, you could do it. Who have you got in mind? Oh, I know a fella from Cork.
Yeah.
And like P.D. Megan, he had played for London in an All-Ireland final against Cork. He played for Cork in an All-Ireland final against Kilkenny. Like, his GAA bona fides are real. His journalism doesn't just cover Gaelic games. He covers boxing. He covers athletics. He was the Irish hop, skip and jump champion in 1908. He's an accomplished athlete.
He knows his stuff. I think it's very courageous. Presumably there's a touch of, I don't know, would it be a touch of ego about it? I mean, he didn't know what he was getting into. I think he's just very courageous. Probably explains why he needed a quick shot of a baby power here and there.
The baby power comes from, yeah.
It's just a bit of Dutch courage to do this thing that no one's ever done before.
Yeah, it's like being the groom giving the speech. Have one, but don't have too many.
Yeah, and it's a point for Glug. I'm going to ask the question. I presume there is no record of this. There's
no,
not
because
tape.
this literally, they had no means to record this at the time, so everything was a live signal.
So how did it go? Did it work?
It worked. And I mean, what we now know is that it was almost found accidentally, but it was successful. And interestingly, okay, this is the All-Ireland hurling semi-final. So you'll say, what other broadcasts did they do the two finals? Yes, they did. They also did the Munster hurling final. And this is where I was going, but surely that was before the All-Ireland hurling semi-final. But no, not this year. This is the year that Cork and Tip played 3 Munster finals.
Oh, yes.
The first of which was abandoned after a pitch invasion in Cork after 10 minutes, and the next 2 were played in Thurles sports fields. So the last of those took place in September, so he was actually able to do an outside broadcast from Thurles as well.
Wow, that's fantastic. So they took their ship's batteries and their big circular microphone and off they went. Any reviews? I mean, you mentioned that the newspapers were all over the coverage, or all over the transmissions that had been out before that, the programs, the quality. Was there any mention of this live, any of these live broadcasts?
No. It's just
kind of weird.
What you begin to see in the following weeks is that it's advertised in the broadcast listings that they'll be doing it. And it establishes a tradition which goes to this day, which is that the All-Ireland hurling and football finals are broadcast annually on radio.
Yeah. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. By the way, who won?
The game itself was won by Kilkenny on a score of 20 points to 16, or 6-2, because it is that era, to 5-1.
I was a bit shocked there when you said 20 to 16. I was like, that's
no, they
hardly
weren't
the
scoring
scoreline.
points. These are goals. Yeah, it was Kilkenny 6-2, Galway 5-1.
Fantastic. And, you would have mentioned it already, but I presume there was no objections from Kilkenny or Galway to this broadcast or anything like that. Because we'll recall, Kilkenny did have an issue over image rights with photographs being taken of them in an All-Ireland final back in the 1910s. So
no, they're like, I think in this case, they just thought, this is great. People at home, it would be easier for news to be relayed. It's not that everybody has a radio set. And that is one of the criticisms of the early licensing, is it's just not widespread enough. There's actually letters to the newspapers where they're explaining how much revenue the BBC have to run their service. And how can Ireland ever get to that off radio set licensing? So I think, on one hand, people do understand it, but like the turmoil. So this is 8-9 months into the service. Seamus Clondillan wanted to leave at this stage, the director of the programme.
Already?
He had been a career civil servant prior to it. So he, this is a guy who had been a teacher, then goes into the civil service. This is a civil service position he has. He's sent away to do radio training in London. He's sick of the criticism by August and September of 1926. He's begging for a transfer. He does manage to continue in the role until 1934. But at that stage, he gets transferred to another department. He wants to be a civil servant, but he doesn't want this heat.
Yeah, it's a little bit too high profile for him. Like, what do you reckon in the context of the decisions and the advancements that the GAA made in this period? And as a matter of fact, overall time, how big was this?
This is massive, because if you think about it, we've talked about in the 20s the increase in attendances year on year. And you can put so much of that down to effectively organs of state developing. So this is the first public service broadcaster. This is the first one that's going to make a decision to put it in a schedule. And for years afterwards, it becomes a big issue, the prevalence that's placed upon Gaelic games in the schedules. We've talked about it in previous episodes. That they get the Athlone transmitter and soccer is consigned to the Dublin transmitter, because ultimately, as it develops, the Athlone is the one that goes nationwide. And the reason for that is that they become the most popular sports in the country over the next 20 years. And they do so because of several major shifts. This is the first radio transmission. And people who are listening in Galway or Donegal or Waterford can hear Gaelic games. And they begin to become familiar with the big names and the leichs of the age. And then we also have the development of the Irish press as an organ of Fianna Fáil. And they want things to be uniquely Irish, so they're putting more emphasis on Gaelic games. How then does the Sunday Independent and the Irish Independent and the Irish Times respond? They need to compete with the Irish press, so they must cover Gaelic games. And by the time we get to 1936, just 10 years on, the GAA is unrecognisable. Attendances are crazy. We talked about this Mayo-Kerry exhibition match in Fitzgerald Stadium just 10 years later that has 38,000 at it. That's because that decade is a pure accelerant in the promotion of Gaelic games.
100%. As a matter of fact, 1926 was also the year that the new stand in Croke Park was opened, which was the Hogan stand. The first iteration of the Hogan stand is built, finished, and named after Michael Hogan in 1926. So again, you have an expansion and improvement of the Primo Stadium for Gaelic games in the country, alongside this media advancement, this media expansion that they're experiencing. It's an incredible time when you think about it in those terms, isn't it? Like, it's so formative. And this, kind of half-hidden bit of an experiment, with a couple of ship's batteries and a big microphone. It's an incalculably massive moment for Gaelic games.
Yeah, like what follows is from PD Megan, we go to Sean O'Callaghan, which goes to Micheál O'Hare, which goes to Micheál O'Murray, Sean O'Callaghan, and on and on and on, right up to commentators we have now. And I dare say all those people that were looking at PD Megan standing by this microphone, wondering if he was possibly going to announce over a tannoy or something. If you said to them, in 100 years' time, you'll be able to watch any club game in the country on this machine that you can carry around in your pocket, which also allows you to speak to somebody in America or Canada or Australia.
Yeah.
They'd ask what you were smoking.
Yeah. And can I have some? It's when you put it that way, it's actually a short sweep of history, this 100 years going back to 1926, but incredibly revolutionary time. And as you said, that decade, 26 to 36 in media terms, is absolutely massive. May well be something we come back to in even more detail at some time in the future. But for now, Kieran, I think we have marked this centenary quite well. That was fantastic. PD Mehigan, Carberry, Pato. The first GA freelancer, really, Kieran, wasn't he? First GA stringer. Yeah,
he seemed to get around. And I mean, he had his athletics columns as well as his GA columns. Now, the one thing when you look at the newspapers of the time, and you've found this as much as I have, they're 12 pages. And six are ads. If he was being paid by word, it wasn't lucrative.
No, he needed every single one of those irons in the fire to keep things going, I can tell you. But you know what? He has his place, a very important place in history as well in terms of sports media in Ireland, and that's not to be forgotten either. Kieran, thank you so much for that. That was fantastic. Episode 99, leading us nicely on to our centenary episodes this week, which for our Corja members, it is the beginning of a new monthly series. It's monthly, isn't it, right, Kieran? That's right. Am I right?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. I'm calling it the Millennium Men because it's going to be a series about the teams of the Millennium picked, obviously, in 2000 for Gaelic football and hurling. We will be going through every line of those teams, hurling football, alternate weeks, beginning this week with the hurling goalkeeper, the mighty Tony Redden from Tipperary. And we will be discussing what made Tony Redden so great.
He wasn't really called Tony Redden and wasn't really from Tipperary.
Yeah, I know. That was kind of weird. I found that out when I was looking through this. I kind of got a bit of a shudder, to be honest. What other secrets are going to be unveiled here? But all I found out and all that was there, sorry, let me start that again. But the thing that just leaps out about Tony Redden is bravery, audaciousness, brilliant shot stopper, and a goalkeeper miles ahead of his time. Way, way more advanced and way more connected to the current day goalkeepers than I could ever have imagined. So we will be telling his story in our members episode, beginning our Teams of the Millennium series, episode 100 this week. To all of you who have listened to this free episode, we thank you so much. And if you have listened to any of the previous episodes, thank you for being with us on this journey this far. If, as I said at the very top, you were thinking about, maybe these guys are worth listening to a little bit more, I'd like to hear more of their stories, please do consider subscribing for less than the price of a match program every month. It's $5 a month. Right now, you will get 50 episodes right into you. So you can start really digging into all the other stuff we have done and come on the journey with us as we go on through it. For everybody else, I would say if you would not mind taking your little machine there and having a look and maybe giving us a rate, a review, a comment, anything like that, and just share the word out there with people you know that you might think, yeah, they might like this kind of stuff, these Gaelic games, history, stories, old yarns from the past. So stay with us as we move into the triple figures. And also, of course, we have our new series here on The Week That Was, where we look back at famous things that happened on this week in GAA history, little like bite-sized things, like we had our bite-sized during the championships. Remember, this is another version of bite-sized, just short, sharp yarns about stuff that happened on this week in the history of the GAA. So with that, we stride purposely forward into episode 100, Kieran. I say thank you again to everybody for listening, and we will talk to you very soon.
Over and out.
Love GAA history? Then you love going deeper with Over the Bar's Cordia Club membership. For just €5 a month, you'll get exclusive member-only episodes and series, early ad-free access to the main podcast, plus detailed show notes, a newsletter, and the chance to have your questions answered. Join Michael Foley and Kieran O'Hara as they uncover the stories, the legends, and the questions that shaped our games. Don't just listen, be part of the club. Join now at overthebar.club.